Well, when we started, people said, no, this is not an issue. When Rahulji started articulating it in the parliament, in press conferences, in various tweets and address to media, people were skeptical about the veracity of this claim. But as time has passed by, even the other opposition parties in various states, including Delhi, including West Bengal, are now seized of the matter. They have found, when they did their homework, that this was a very organized loot and plundering of the elections. And now the opposition party together has come to an understanding that this needs to be stopped. And that is why Rahulji raised this question today in Lok Sabha. Election Commission has refused to tell us, it has refused to tell the country how many duplicate EPIC or duplicate voter ID numbers exist today. How much time does it take for Election Commission to come out with this data? Well, I would admit that certain amount of deletion, registration has always happened in elections. It's not a new thing. But this is being done on a very different scale, big enough to defeat the will of the people, is a recent exercise by BJP. It's a recent exercise. BJP does mark people house to house. It's not an uncommon knowledge that people who do not live in those houses, some children are working abroad, some people are working or studying in different cities, but their votes are registered in their parent hometown. And BJP does mark them on the basis of its electoral organizational strength and then uses it. But this was a sporadic thing. When it happens on a sporadic level, then the political parties, local leadership, local workers are capable enough to tackle it, because they also know that such and such house, some voter has been registered wrongly. So these things are tackled on a local level. But when it happens on a humongous scale as this, where 10 to 15% voter difference is happening, then the local worker is not equipped to handle it. And that is why this has to be checked by the system. This has to be checked by Election Commission. So there is not a question, there isn't a question of any permissible limit. Question is, sporadic incidents can be checked by the local workers, but a mass rigging of this scale cannot be tackled by them. It is Election Commission's duty to ensure that this mass rigging of voter lists is stopped. This is our point.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Leader of the opposition Rahul Gandhi today demanded a discussion in the Lok Sabha on the issue of voter lists, on which several political parties have raised certain questions. And this issue today was raised during the 0 hour, when Rahul Gandhi said that the entire opposition is demanding a discussion on this. And he also mentioned the fact that the voter lists are being questioned across the country, and similarly, the questions now have been raised by the opposition in one voice. So the big questions we will be raising today, I'll come to those questions later, but let's just listen in to what Rahul Gandhi said inside the Lok Sabha today.
आपने सही बात बोली कि वोटर लिस्ट क्या सरकार बनाती है।
मैंने नहीं बोला,
नहीं, आपने बोला क्या, और आपने सही बोला कि सरकार वोटर लिस्ट नहीं बनाती है। मगर पूरे देश में वोटर लिस्ट पर सवाल उठ रहे हैं, हर स्टेट में, हर ऑपोजिशन के स्टेट में, और महाराष्ट्र में ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट वोटर लिस्ट पे सवाल उठे हैं। तो पूरा ऑपोजिशन मिलकर सिर्फ ये बोलने दीजिए, पूरा ऑपोजिशन सिर्फ मिलकर ये कह रहा है कि वोटर लिस्ट पे यहां पे एक डिस्कशन हो जाए। आप बनाते नहीं हो, इसको हम एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं, आप डिस्कशन तो कीजिए।
आनंद भदौरिया जी,
ओके, गुड।
हमको भी एडमिट दीजिए। So you could clearly see the discomfort on Speaker Om Birla's face, and obviously it's not a very palatable issue for the government. But the big question is that these occasions have been seen rarely in Parliament. So the big question today I'm raising is this a turning point as far as the fight for electoral democracy is concerned? Since Lok Sabha elections, there have been several questions raised as to how the elections have been rigged, voter lists have been manipulated, and especially Haryana, Maharashtra, and Delhi elections, all these questions now have become more predominant. So, has Rahul Gandhi really challenged the legitimacy of the Modi government today? Joining me this evening is a very special guest, Congress administration in charge, CWC member, and also advisor to Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge. Gurdeep Singh Sappal joins us this evening. Gurdeep, thank you so much for joining on HW News, and it's always a pleasure having you on the program. The first question today is that has Rahul, in a way, challenged the legitimacy of the Modi government?
Well, Rahul ji has been raising this issue for last few months because our homework has shown that certainly there's something amiss in the voter list. In Maharashtra, we suffered a very, very severe defeat. But when we analyzed the elections, we found that the number of votes we got in Lok Sabha, where we led in 156 assembly segments, were same as the number of votes we got in Vidhan Sabha. So how is it that the number of votes that we got were same, yet we lost badly? It was because BJP and through Election Commission had got nearly 48 lakh new voters, 8 lakh were deleted, and we don't know the number, were shifted to different booths. And out of the total 72 lakh increase in voting, 70 lakh went to BJP. Even in Putin's dictatorship, even in biggest dictatorship of the world, 97% votes do not go to the ruling party. Here, out of 72 lakh, 70 lakh votes went to BJP. Now, that is something which is certainly something that we have been questioning, that everything is not correct.
So is Gurdeep really the opposition, has it decided in one voice that now it's going to take on the government on this particular issue? And what happens if the government doesn't agree for a discussion?
Well, when we started, people said, no, this is not an issue. When Rahul started articulating it in the parliament, in press conferences, in various tweets and address to media, people were skeptical about the veracity of this claim. But as time has passed by, even the other opposition parties in various states, including Delhi, including West Bengal, are now seized of the matter. They have found, when they did their homework, that this was a very organized loot and plundering of the elections. If you delete the opposition votes, and if you add your own votes, most of them are fake voters, then certainly the will of people is not expressed the way it should be. And now the opposition party together has come to an understanding that this needs to be stopped. And that is why Rahul ji raised this question today in Lok Sabha. Let us not forget, 3 days back, Election Commission issued a press release. What did it say? It accepted that there were duplicate votes. It accepted it. Though it said that it's a decades-old problem, and now they will solve it, which was a complete misleading statement, because Election Commission, its own letters before, had always claimed that EPIC number, the voter card number, is a unique number. Now, in this day of IT technology, all the voter lists are computerized. Election commissions, the voter lists which are with Election Commission are not in the manual form. They are digitized voter list. And it hardly takes few seconds, I'm not even saying minutes, to run a query and identify duplicate EPICs, duplicate voter IDs. It just takes few seconds. And even now, Election Commission has refused to tell us, it has refused to tell the country how many duplicate EPIC or duplicate voter ID numbers exist today. How much time does it take for Election Commission to come out with this data? 1 minute? So when Election Commission avoids sharing such information, when Election Commission gives misleading statements that it was always so, then we need to raise questions on the claims of Election Commission, and that is why this misleading claim has led to today's statement in Lok Sabha by Rahul Gandhi ji.
But according to your belief, how big could be this epic scam? As Trinamool also calls it an epic scam, and your party also has gone ahead talking about the way the voter lists have been manipulated. How big could be the scale of this scam? Because if you start from the Lok Sabha elections and where the allegations have been coming in with various people talking about the manipulation of the voter list, so starting from Lok Sabha elections to Haryana to Maharashtra and now to Delhi, how big could this scam be? And because Randeep Surjewala's petition just talks about the Haryana and the Maharashtra voter list, so are there any plans that the entire opposition might just rejig the entire voter list and come out with something very, very comprehensive about the magnitude of this scale?
Neelu, we do not have data to say how big the numbers are. Election Commission has not shared the data. We have been asking the voter lists from Election Commission for precisely for this reason, that we wanted to do an analysis, which Election Commission has refused for last 3 months, and it has requested 3 months' time from the Delhi High Court, saying that it will decide in 3 months whether to share the voter list or not. Now, sharing of voter list should not be such a big deal. The voter lists are given to the candidates, and this is what Election Commission has been trying to say, that we have already given voter list to the candidates, so why do you want it again? But the problem is that when the candidate gets the voter list, those voter lists are distributed to booth level agents of every party. The 2 pages, 3 pages of that list reaches each booth. And by the end of the voting, those pages are not collected back. They are with those booth agents, they leave it there, they destroy it, these are torn papers. So we do not have a mechanism where all the booth lists are collected by any state leadership, any state office, and do the analysis. So we are asking for a simple thing: give us the voter list in a digitized form, which is a very, very simple and legitimate demand. But Election Commission is refusing it. Now you asked me, what is the scale of this? The only answer that I can give you is the exercise that we first did in 2018 in Madhya Pradesh. When 2018 elections happened in Madhya Pradesh, our exercise, Congress Party, did this similar exercise with voter list, and we found that almost 64 lakh votes were duplicate or forged votes. We wrote a letter to Election Commission that time. Election Commission rejected the claim. It said no such thing happens. But few weeks after that, it was I think in August 2018, Election Commission came out with a statement that it has done an exercise to weed out duplicate votes, and 27 lakh voters' names have been deleted from the list. This is the Election Commission's record. Now, Election Commission knew that 27 lakh was not a small number. It was because of Congress's campaign that time, it was forced to delete, though it did not accept our claim, and it said that it was an internal exercise which has led to this thing that 27 lakh voters' names have been deleted. Now, my question is, in one state, when you can delete 27 lakh duplicate votes throughout country, how many votes there may be? One can just make a guess. And number two, when Election Commission did this exercise in 2018, in 2025, how can it say that it did not know that there were no duplicate voters? What did Election Commission do in past 7 years to rectify this problem? So there are questions, legitimate questions against the Election Commission, and this is what we are raising.
But since you just referenced to the 2018 Madhya Pradesh elections, and if that was the scale at that time, so which means that this kind of a manipulation has been happening for quite many years Apparently, the political parties, in fact, Congress detected this in 2018. Other parties weren't able to detect that. But if this has been happening for so many years, so what is the larger plan now of the opposition parties? If you are able to prove that there has been a rampant manipulation since 2018, as you are pointing out, and I remember, I think if I'm not wrong, Randeep Surjewala has also asked for the electoral rolls from 2009 to 2024. So if that is the kind of comparison which your party is wanting to do, what is the ultimate end plan of this exercise? That the election commission is going to come out with the electoral rolls, and if the manipulation is caught, then what happens next?
Election Commission has so far been stubborn. It is not giving the data. It is not giving the copies of voter list. So we do not expect Election Commission to proactively do it. Even in case of EPIC numbers, epic numbers, it was forced to admit because homework was done by political parties, which included Congress Party and Trinamool Congress Party. We both had given this list to Election Commission. Now our challenge is that if Election Commission doesn't cooperate, what should be done? So Congress Party has decided to go to grassroots, identify people whose votes have been deleted, identify people whose forged votes have been included in the list, and bring it to public notice, and also then do a follow-up of that exercise. We have started a campaign in Maharashtra called Jan Sanwai. It will begin in next 2 weeks, where we have identified 30 constituencies and 15 booths of each constituency. In 15 booths of each of these 30 constituencies, our workers will go door to door and speak to people whose votes have been deleted, and they will go to those houses where new voters have been registered and see which are the genuine voters and which are the fake voters. This is the process we are starting in Maharashtra. 15 booths each of 30 constituencies. And then it will lead to a public hearing of these cases. In Uttarakhand, we have started another campaign of another sort. It is called Mera Vote, Mera Adhikar. We are reaching out to people in 100 local bodies election. There were 100 urban local bodies elections to which were held in January this year, and one assembly by-election in Kedarnath. So we are reaching out to all these constituencies. We are identifying people whose votes have been deleted, a sample of those, and we are filing RTIs under Right to Information Act, asking for people. There are 3 steps included in this, Neelu. Suppose your vote is deleted without your knowledge. Then there are 3 safeguards by Election Commission. 1, somebody has to fill a Form 7, to request the deletion of your name. The name of that person, the identity of that person is recorded with Election Commission. So you have a right to know who misled Election Commission into deleting your vote, because that person has committed a crime against your fundamental right to vote. That's the first thing. Election Commission has that data. Number 2, the election registration officer was supposed to send you, in case your name was deleted, a registered post asking that we have got a request to delete your vote. Is it correct, or should your name be retained? So people do not get that registered post. Throughout India, you talk to anybody whose vote has been deleted, they never get a registered post. And third is, if you do not reply to that post, then the block level officer of Election Commission has to visit the voter's residence, try to meet the voter. If the voter is there, ask their response. If the voter is not there, give a report. This is also a written report with the Election Commission. So there are 3 documents with the Election Commission. One document is Form 7 of the person who applied for deletion of second person's vote. Number 2, the details of registered post. And number 3, we have got the BLO's report. So in Uttarakhand, we are going to ask on behalf of those voters, through those voters, details of these 3 documents. And once we have these documents, we are going to file criminal cases against this forgery. Because this forgery has to be challenged, and the EROs and BLOs who are active partners in this fraud have to be booked by law. They have to be taken to task. So this is something that we are starting in Uttarakhand in all 100 local body constituencies. Our aim is very simple. BJP is rigging elections through voter list manipulation, through voter list fraud. Election
But-
Commission is not helping us.
Right.
Election Commission is not helping us.
I was just trying to understand the processes you were talking about. And obviously, those processes have been given a big miss by the Election Commission. But by filing criminal cases against the BLOs or the EROs, will that really root out the big mess we are trying to address? And that obviously is at the top. Because the Election Commission hasn't addressed those problems. So, do you think that filing cases against BLOs would really help the cause?
It is not just BLOs. It is against the election machinery. The election machinery for voter list is managed by election registration officer, who often is a SDM level officer. So it is senior bureaucrats who are responsible for maintaining the election voter list are to be challenged. They are part of the institution of Election Commission of India. And second thing, it is not just deletion. If somebody files application through Form 6 for making a new voter, and that voter does not exist, that is also a fraud. That fraud also needs to be challenged. And we are challenging them because this is the only way we can go forward. If you file cases against Chief Election Commissioner of India, what is the documentary evidence for that? So first we need documentary evidence. And that documentary evidence is being collected in two states, Maharashtra and Uttarakhand by Congress Party. It's a full campaign that we are carrying out. And once we have documentary evidence, certainly this will lead to public agitation and legal battle both.
So basically,
And
Maharashtra and Uttarakhand probably will be the pilot projects for Congress to fight this menace. And then it's going to be apparently replicated in other states?
It will be. Our first challenge is to prove to people of India that certainly there is a fraud which is happening, and that fraud is not being addressed by Election Commission of India. Even in the press release 2 days back, what did Election Commission of India write? It said, yes, there are some duplicate votes. But we have a process of summary revision, SSR, special summary revision, where we allow BLAs to be appointed by political parties. The political parties can verify the voter list which is uploaded on the website. And if election, meaning to say that if the political parties are not doing their homework, what can Election Commission of India do? Now, this is half truth. It is a misleading statement because we are not questioning special summary revision. What we are opposing is registration of fake voters through Form 6 and deletion of genuine voters through Form 7. And these forms are filled up to the nomination date. The BLAs do not get enough time to react to these forms. These forms are being processed by Election Commission during the very last days leading up to the polling. And there's very little time to rectify this. Election Commission is silent on this.
Election Commission is not only silent, Gurdeep, but the latest press release from the Election Commission really showed that the poll body is wanting to pass the buck to the BLAs, which should be or should not be appointed by the political parties. So what could you really say about the intention of the Election Commission? Though it's admitted its fault, it admitted its guilt, but even then it's not ready to divulge the full truth.
Well, there are two parts to it. Number one, Election Commission has been lecturing the political parties on the BLA system and passing on the buck to political parties. Our stand is, okay, political parties may be weak. They may not be equipped to appoint BLAs in all the booths. But does Election Commission, is Election Commission saying that till all the political parties in India are as strong as BJP, till all the political parties of India have got BLAs in each booth, till then there will be no level playing field. Is it incumbent on the political parties? It is a duty of Election Commission of India to ensure that voter lists are perfect. Election Commission of India is supposed to do that work. BLAs are only meant to assist Election Commission. by putting the onus on BLAs and in effect saying that till all the political parties have BLAs in all the booths, this process cannot be rectified, is something which is not expected from a constitutional body. Let us not forget, this is the same Election Commission of India, which was formed in 1950, when the opposition party, other parties, then there was no opposition, then all the other parties were very weak vis-a-vis Congress party. But Election Commission did many innovations. It took on it itself under Sukumar Sen, our first Election Commissioner of India, to have processes that offer fair and equal playing field to all political parties, all candidates, even independent candidates, regardless of their organizational strength. Because the concept that was that Election Commission of India is empowered by the Constitution of India to ensure that even the weakest candidate, even the weakest party gets an equal opportunity to contest. And that is why Election Commission of India did several innovations. Like when the first election happened, the first Lok Sabha, that was the first time that such a huge population in the world, anywhere in the world, got universal adult franchise, that everybody above the age of 21 can vote. And our 90% or so population was illiterate. They could not read the name of the party. They could not read the name of the candidate. And Election Commission innovated and came up with the concept of party symbols. When Election Commission decided that there should be a free and fair election in the first election, they had no idea how to control it. So they came up with the concept of indelible ink on your fingers. That was in 1950. They entrusted CSIR to develop a ink which cannot be removed, got that ink prepared, transported that ink to through all the booths of India, 220,000 booths were there, and ensured a free and fair election. They did not raise their hands that what can we do? This was the same Election Commission which trained almost 5 lakh officers to conduct first election. It did not say that it is the duty of political parties to ensure that their BLS should be there and then there will be free and fair election. Election Commission took on itself to develop a system that the elections were free and fair. And the world, which was watching Indian democracy with very keen interest, and they were people, intellectuals, observers of democracy in Western countries. They were on record. They have written books on it. They used to say that this experiment of democracy will fail in India. You cannot have elections in such huge country. And Indians, without any experience of administration, without any experience of democracy, will not be able to hold this democracy together. It was in that context, the world said that yes, India has been able to conduct free and fair elections on the basis of adult franchise in a huge country in 1950. Now what we have come to, now Election Commission is saying, you appoint BLAs, you do these things, but I will not do anything. It is for Election Commission to do. BLAs may or may not do. So our basic point is a constitutional body like Election Commission has been vested with powers only because it is its duty to carry out free and fair elections, not political parties' duties.
But at the end of this entire exercise, and I'm hoping that there could be some tangible outcomes of this entire exercise you're talking about. So are we going to see, legally speaking, are we going to see some countermanding of elections, candidatures of the various contestants, or maybe the candidates, the sitting MPs or MLAs getting cancelled? Are we going to see something on those lines?
Neelu, we are not being alarmist. There are two things. Number one, we all know the fate of election petitions in this country. Normally, the tenure of the member is over in 5 years, but the election petitions do not reach their conclusion. It's a common experience. So we do not have much hope from the legal election petitions because the record of courts in this regard is very poor. And number two, this is not a legal battle. This is a battle to save democracy. and it has to be fought politically, it is to be fought on ground, and it has to be fought with people of India. Our duty is to save democracy and in the process ensure that the election commission is accountable. We are moving in that direction. We are not going in an alarmist direction that n number of elections will be countermanded, that people will be voted out. That's an impractical thing. These things do not happen. Our question is people who indulge in voter fraud must be brought to book. They must be forced to face judicial scrutiny and people public scrutiny and ensure that these things do not happen in future. This is our target, and that is why we are going to people, whether in Maharashtra or in Uttarakhand, because fundamental right to vote cannot be taken away by anybody, be it any political party or an individual or an institution. And this is what we are trying to underline.
What I can understand, Gurdeep, so far is that the country is going through a phase where disenfranchisement of votes is happening in a way. And do you think that this is something very, very unprecedented, and which is why probably your battle is a long haul battle and it could take years? And with not too much of hope also coming from the courts, how do you really plan to, unfold the things? And as far as your agitation is concerned, as far as your entire battle is concerned?
Well, this is number one, deletion of votes used to happen earlier also, but it was not on a mass scale. So that is why people were not much alarmed. Also, fake voters were registered in elections, but they were not done in a mass organized way. Like I'll tell you the case of Uttarakhand local body elections. Our analysis in last 3 weeks has revealed a very interesting pattern from BJP. People who live in villages and who are BJP workers, they were registered as urban voters in these Nagar Nigam elections. So they might be living in village, they were registered as new voters in the urban local body election and they voted BJP because they were their workers. This happened in January. Now in April, most probably, the rural body elections are going to take place. So these workers of BJP are now being taken back from urban area and are being registered as voters in rural areas. So the same person will be voting for urban bodies and same person of BJP will be voting for rural bodies. And Election Commission of India rule says that you need to be residing for minimum of 6 months in an area before getting registered as a voter in that area. Now these people registered in urban areas in January and in April again after 3 months. How is it possible? So our fight is also to see that this scientific rigging which is being done by BJP on the basis of its organizational strength has to be stopped because that is illegal. Because if BJP is strong,
and you have no doubts.
If BJP is organizationally strong, it does not get license to do illegal things. Tomorrow you can say that such and such party is very strong, so it can murder anybody. Can it commit crime in an area? No, it cannot. Illegality remains illegality regardless of your organizational strength. And this is what we are addressing. We are not in a hopeless situation. We have forced Election Commission to come out with 3 statements in last 3 months. This is a limited success. We have forced Election Commission to accept that yes, there are discrepancies, there are wrongdoings, and we are very confident that in months and days to come, we will be able to force Election Commission to make this course correction and will ensure that some people, if not all, are taken to task by through legal routes. We will ensure this because this is, you see, democracy survives only as long as people of this country would want democracy to survive. So that is why we are going back to people. We are not just relying on petitions to Election Commission. We are not just relying on judicial recourse, but we are relying on the power of people of this country.
You use the word scientific rigging, and so you admit the fact that scientifically elections have been rigged, voter lists have been rigged, and it's out in the open. So is election commission, does it really stand exposed now?
Of course, the elections have, Maharashtra elections have been rigged. How is it possible that 72 lakh voters vote more in Vidhan Sabha, and after that, statistically 70 lakh go to BJP? How is it possible? That is almost 96%. Are we saying that of the new voters who were registered and new voters who came out and voted, 96% were BJP supporters? And rest of the voters, it was only 45, 46%. And in new voters, it is 96%. Is it possible? Is it statistically possible?
On all these issues, Gurdeep, former CEC Rajiv Kumar has always been in a denial mode. In every press conference, he's denied every bit of the question which has been raised on this particular issue. Now, Rajiv Kumar has got retired. Now,
let them deny it, Neelu. Our simple request is give us the voter lists. We'll do the analysis. We'll sit with the election commission. Why are they not giving us the voter list in digital form? One answer is out. This whole issue of duplicate voters is now accepted by election commission. If it had given access to this voter list, we would have come out with exact numbers. So denial does not hold. The fact remains that, and we will prove in next few weeks, that large number of fake voters were registered from other places, and we will prove that large number of voters residing in the same place where they voted earlier from were either deleted or shifted to new booths. We will prove it. The CEC's clarifications do not stand, and we will prove this in public.
But, when we talk about this electoral fraud machinery, where Panna Pramukhs are involved, the BLOs are involved, the EROs are involved, Derek O'Brien had held a press conference just a few days back where he said that, there is a modus operandi to it. What happens is that when voters from other states are being brought to, say, for example, in West Bengal, so he said that, deliberately some construction projects are brought in, and the workers from other states are brought in those states, then fake voters are registered. Do you think that this could be happening? And I'm using the word could. Could this be happening in every state as a modus operandi?
Well, I'll tell you a specific answer to this. Let's move away from Maharashtra, which is the biggest state. Kedarnath by-election happened few months back. BJP MLA passed away, and there was a by-election. In 2022 general election, Congress got almost 12,500 votes. And BJP got that time 21,800 votes. In the by-election, the Congress vote share jumped over this 12,000 by 50%, and Congress got 18,000 plus votes. So nearly 50% of more votes of the Congress share. It's a huge swing. But we lost the election. We lost the election by 4,995 votes. But what happened when we did our analysis? After Lok Sabha election, 4,678, which is 5% of the total voters, were deleted. Almost all were Congress voters. So 5% of the vote share of Congress is already gone. Despite a huge jump, which did happen, 5% of the voters were lost. And new voters were 8,693, which is 9.3%. So within 5 months of Lok Sabha, 5% voters were deleted and 9% plus voters were added. Almost all BJP voters. So 14% of the difference came, and despite our vote share increasing by 50%, we lost the election. And we know that day when the Kedarnath election was happening, polling was going on. People were ferried from Rishikesh and Dehradun in buses. We know this. So the BJP has been working on a pattern where large number of people are moved in name of projects, in name of students, in name of workers. Like I told in Uttarakhand, rural voters of BJP were registered as urban voters and are now being registered back as rural voters. How is this possible? Is it not scientific rigging?
No,
This is scientific rigging.
It's scientific rigging, and it's quite a curious case. But what I want to understand is that why couldn't the political parties gauge this all along? If you say that you knew that there were voters who were ferried from one place to another, why did the political parties take so long to analyze as to how this fake voters were brought in and how this rigging was happening? I mean, everybody had a hunch, but I'm glad that the political parties are now talking about it. Say, for example, Derek spoke about it. Now you are talking about this entire structure, or the fortress, if I may call, the fortress of electoral fraud, how it's happening regarding the fake voters. Why did it take so much of time for the political parties to analyze this?
Well, I would admit that certain amount of deletion, registration has always happened in elections. It's not a new thing. But this is being done on a very different scale, big enough to defeat the will of the people, is a recent exercise by BJP. It's a recent exercise. BJP does mark people house to house. It's not an uncommon knowledge that people who do not live in those houses, some children are working abroad, some people are working or studying in different cities, but their votes are registered in their parent hometown. And BJP does mark them on the basis of its electoral organizational strength and then uses it. But this was a sporadic thing. In a ward, in a mohalla, there may be 5-10 such houses. So nobody objected, and other parties also, wherever they were strong, they were using that to.
That's quite interesting.
I'm telling you, this is a fact. This is a fact. Sporadic things. You cannot have 100% foolproof system. But when this change, when this intervention is being done by BJP to the tune of 10% and 15%. In an election, closely fought elections, even a swing of 2%, 3% can result in a major change in the verdict in a state. But BJP is now getting the advantage of 10 to 15% by deletion and addition put together. That is a huge advantage that it is getting. So this took time to be identified. We identified it because in Maharashtra, this election result was completely unexpected. People on the ground in Maharashtra and Haryana did not accept the verdict which was there. The best people were saying that, okay, it will be a very tightly contested election. But we have 17 Lok Sabha MPs and we got 16 MLA. People also know what is the situation on the ground. And when we listened to those voices, then we started this homework.
Right.
Then we started the homework.
Gurdeep, but what is interesting, I mean, I'm just trying to take a cue from what you are saying. You said that earlier also it was happening, but not on that level as we see right now. So it's about what is the permissible limit for an electoral fraud. Earlier, what we were seeing were within the permissible limits. Nobody objected to it. Everybody knew that, okay, it's happening, allow this to happen. But now since it's happening on a much bigger scale and the political party in power is getting an unassailable record of staying in power forever. So which is why now the political parties have started objecting.
No, this is the wrong way of looking at the data that I presented. When it happens on a sporadic level, then the political parties, local leadership, local workers are capable enough to tackle it. Because they also know that such and such house, some voter has been registered wrongly. So these things are tackled on a local level. But when it happens on a humongous scale as this, where 10 to 15% voter difference is happening, then the local worker is not equipped to handle it. And that is why this has to be checked by the system. This has to be checked by Election Commission. So there is not a question. There isn't a question of any permissible limit. Question is, sporadic incidents can be checked by the local workers, but a mass rigging of this scale cannot be tackled by them. It is Election Commission's duty to ensure that this mass rigging of voter lists is stopped. This is our point.
I'm glad that we are talking about an aspect like this. And today you revealed it all that was happening on a small scale earlier, and which is why it was under control. The party workers could control it. But now, since it's happening on a much bigger scale, so it's difficult and it's more spread out far and wide, I guess. My last question to you is that now, since this electoral fraud machinery, the fortress which was erected by the BJP for so many years, and now that the political parties have breached that fortress, do you think that the going is really going to be tough now for the Election Commission and for the BJP with a kind of attack which the political parties would be doing from all corners?
Well, I will not.
I've lost your audio. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, sir. I will not use the terminology that you have been using because this is anchors or journalist words. What we are saying is that this effort to curb democracy and steal public mandate cannot go unchallenged. And it is a democracy. We are a democracy of will of people. And as a political party which has ruled this country, which has nurtured democracy in this country, Congress party has ruled India for more than 5 decades. It has brought in the democracy. It has nurtured the democracy. So it is our duty to ensure that the institutions are accountable and that the democracy provides a free and fair level playing field to all the political parties. And this is our challenge. And I again say, we will succeed only if people of India believe in democracy and are willing to save their vote. And we are confident of this fact, that India is democratic by nature and by spirit. People, some of them may be, as you call, blind supporters of BJP. But even among BJP supporters, people do believe in democracy in this country. And with their support, we have to set the system right. Otherwise, we will have elections where the mandate is stolen through these dubious means by the ruling party. And we are quite confident that we'll be able to ensure Election Commission. We'll be able to ensure that Election Commission comes back on track. We have forced Election Commission to accept that there are duplicates vote. We will force Election Commission that votes are being deleted wrongly, and people who are adding fraud votes, fake voters, and who are deleting genuine voters will be put under pressure. This will be done through a local level agitation by Congress party, and that is what we are planning in Maharashtra and Uttarakhand to ensure that democracy is back on tracks.
I'm glad that we've had this kind of an interview where I would say, in my own individual capacity, that it was like a tell-all interview, which talks about how electoral fraud is happening as far as the manipulation of the voter list is concerned. So I'll address all the viewers of HW News to watch this interview, spread it as much as you can, make it viral so that people see as to what is happening and now what the opposition parties are planning to tackle this menace. How much success they will achieve, I think days to come will reveal all of that. But it was a pleasure having you on the program, Gurdeep. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.